that competence stages, the different stages of competence. And maybe just to recap for those who are not here, we spoke about the fact that there's a level of unconscious competence. Then you move from unconscious competence to conscious incompetence. So you move from the place stages, the different stages of competence. Yeah, I am repeating myself. Okay, that ended there. So you move from unconscious competence to conscious competence. At conscious incompetence, you know that you don't know. Whereas at unconscious, you didn't know that you don't know. Then from there, you move to unconscious competence. This is where you are performing a skill, but it is not yet automatic. You have to work harder to sing. You have to work harder to present. You have to work harder to do your presentation, etc. Then from there, you move to now here you are competent. It's conscious competence. For most of us who are drivers, we are already there. When you are driving, you don't have to think about a blind spot, accelerator, clutch, brake. You just drive, you just cruise. You know, at swimming right now, I'm still at conscious incompetence. I have to think arms, legs, breathe, open your eyes. You know, so, and I mean, today at the end of a 30-minute training session, for some reason, I don't know what happened. I opened my mouth while my head was still inside the water. It wasn't funny when it happened. It's only funny now that I think about it, because at the time when it happened, I swallowed so much water. and I kept saying, to the instructor, you're trying to kill me. You know, but I'm hoping that in a couple of weeks, I will move from conscious incompetence to unconscious competence, where I can do it, but I still have to think about it. Then ultimately, I must swim like a fish, where consciously I'm just competent. I don't have to do anything. So that was the framework that we did the last time. Then the framework that I want us to look at today is a framework called Johari Window. It's a Johari Window model. So most people may know it. We sometimes even use it in the ministry to teach people about the ministry. So I'll go through it. But, you know, as I was doing a bit of research, you know, when you're preparing to teach people, you always try to do a bit of research so that you are more knowledgeable. So it's a framework that I knew and I could refer to. But then when I did a bit of research, I was quite disappointed to find out that the reason why they call it Johari Window is because it was discovered by a guy called Joe and another one called Harry. So that was very disappointing, because I thought the name Johari, maybe it has some Greek significance or something. Can't it's just a combination of the names of two people. So in brief then, what is the Johari Window? So I'm hoping that by now, our listeners bring their pens and paper or something to write on. So if you take a blank piece of paper and you draw a cross in the middle. I agree, when you are dealing with Christians, you say a cross. If I was in class, I would say draw 4 quadrants. But because we are dealing with Christians, I'll say draw a cross in the middle. So if you draw a cross in the middle of your page, you will have 4 equal quadrants. Then the one at the top left-hand corner is quadrant 1. Then the one on the right, at the top right, is quadrant 2. Bottom left is quadrant 3. And bottom right is quadrant 4. So which means you have 4 equal areas, named 1, going to the right 2, bottom left 3, and then going to the right 4. Then that's your when you're talking about Johari's window, you're talking about those 4 quadrants, and I will talk about what is in the 4 quadrants. So if you think about the old windows, you remember the old window panes, that they would have that division in the middle. So that's exactly how you think about the Johari's window. So in quadrant 1, the first quadrant, it's what is called the open or the free area. In the free area, it's things that you know about yourself and things that others know about you. So if you are a loud person, you accept that you are loud, and the people around you, they know that you are loud. Some of us, we are clean freaks. We always cleaning. The place must look perfect. You know that about yourself. Your helper at home knows that about you. Your colleagues at work. Your desk is never a mess. So it's something that you know about yourself and others know about you. That's the open area. So what I like about the open area, Mpo, is that as an individual, you are most effective and productive in your open area because you are engaged in an area that you know you are good at. You don't need someone to come and tell you that you are good at this thing. You are engaged in an area that you know that you are good at. And if you are working in a team, or you are working with another person, or you are working with other people, those people also know that you are good at this thing. So if people are cooking, I mean, for me personally, they will never really ask me to come in and cook something. But when I'm with people that are very close to me, they know that I love making spinach, and they know that I make very good spinach. So they will cook everything else, and then when it comes to the spinach, they say, no, Mancha, come and make your spinach, or as they call it, come and make your mom's spinach. So I know that I'm good at it. They know that I'm good at it. It's an open area. So in the open area, people generally work to their strengths. They work to the areas where they are most skilled in. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible, Proverbs 22:29. Do you see a man who excels in his craft? He will not stand before mere men. He will stand before kings. So your skills, your gifts, your abilities in the open areas are what will make people call you. When they have a wedding, they'll be like, no one else can MC this wedding except Mpo. When there's a problem at work and it's in another department, they'll say, no, call this girl in this other department to come and help us with this problem. The open area is perfection, Mpo. We all wish we lived in the open area where I know what I'm good at and people know what I'm good at. Everyone is happy. We are effective. Unfortunately, life is not lived 100% in the open area. You are lucky if in your workplace they know your gifts and you know them. You are very, very fortunate if you are one of those people, because it means that all the assignments they give you will be in line with your skills, will be in line with your strengths. So as a manager, make sure that you know what your people are good at. As a subordinate, try and find a way so that your managers get a glimpse of what you are good at. And that discussion will move us to the second quadrant, which is the one on the top right. The top right, Mpo, is called the blind area. This is the area where people know things about you that you don't know about yourself. So you are blind to self. It's called a blind spot. If we were to go back to that analogy of a car, a lot of people, when they are changing lanes, will get into an accident, maybe with a motorbike or with another car, because they will say, I didn't see it because it was on the blind spot. So when it comes to the car, most of us know where the blind spot is. And we are very aware that if I don't check properly, there's a chance that there could be a car, there could be a motorbike in an area of the window where I cannot see. But when it comes to our gifts, when it comes to us in the workplace, even when it comes to us in relationships, in normal relationships, in your relationship with your spouse, in your relationship with your children, in your relationship with your co-workers, in your relationship with other people at work, most people are not aware that they have blind spots. The reason why it's so important for you as a person to be aware that you have a blind spot is dangerous because people can see your faults, but you can't see them. And when you can't see them, you think they don't exist, can't they exist? So I don't know if you hear that, Mpo, because it's a very unfortunate place to be at. And if you are surrounded by people who are not honest with you, they will never tell you that, you know what, Mancha, you are a good speaker, you are a good communicator, but work on your English. Your English is still the same English that you were speaking 6 years ago. You need to improve. If you don't have people like that in your life, you will always think you are in quadrant one, whereas there are areas that you can't see about yourself. So it's very important. Who do you surround yourself with? And can those people give you feedback? Then The most important thing with the blind spot, ask for feedback. Most of us, people want to give us feedback, but we never ask for it. It's not easy to tell a person, to give a person feedback. If you have a friend, the armpit smell, how easy is it for you to say, "Ay, Maramgani, I think you need to use a better roll on"? It's not an easy discussion. To tell your friend your breath smells, to tell your friend you are not serious about looking for a job, to tell your friend the way you dress. That's why they don't take you seriously at church. You are gifted, but the way you dress, they will never ask you to preach because they don't know the day you preach what you will come wearing. So they acknowledge your gift, but they are afraid that you will embarrass them. So if you are not asking for feedback, people will not give you feedback. So in serious English, we call it feedback solicitation, where you are actively encouraging people to give you feedback. You wanted to say something, Paul? Yes. So I want to share a small story. So one day we went to the movies, and when we went to the movies, we didn't look at they tell you cinema 1, cinema 2, cinema 3, and then you go to the right cinema and then you get your seat. So for you to make sure that you are sitting at the right seat at the cinema, number one, make sure that you are at the right mall, because you could be having the right cinema, the right seat, but if you are at the wrong mall, you won't get the right seat. Number two, after you've made sure that you are at the right mall, at Rosebank, they have 2 cinemas. There's something called Cinema Novo. There's something called The Zone. So imagine you have the ticket, you bought it online, you bought it for Cinema Novo, but you are at The Zone. So everything can be right. You can have the right cinema, you can have the right seats, but you are at the wrong venue. So when you're going to the movies, the first thing that you make sure is that you are at the right venue. So fine, tick, you are at the right venue. Then the second thing, you make sure that you are at the right cinema 1 up to 10 in most cinemas. Then after that, you will get there, you'll get a row. Generally, the row will say A, B, C, D, etc. And then you'll get the right number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we go to the movies. It's in the evening. I like going to Cinema Novo because generally it's there with the old people, young people. Then when we arrived there, I did not check the number of the cinema properly. Then we arrive in the cinema, people are sitting down. We are surprised. Why are people sitting down already? And hey, we look at the screen. Hey, the movie is on already. Anyway, then we get to our seats. When we get to our seats, there are 2 people who are sitting there. Then I say to them, "Excuse me, these are our seats." Immediately, they get upset and they refuse to move. And I sit next to them. I am so upset, Mpo. I am like, these people, they are sitting on our seats, and they are looking at me with that thing, "You are making noise, you are watching a movie." And I'm sitting here thinking, you're sitting on our seats and then you say we are making noise. To cut a long story short, Mpo, I look at the screen. The movie is in French. We didn't choose a French movie. Why am I in this thing? Jiggy, 15 minutes later, Mpo, the movie is finished. Everyone stands up in the cinema and they leave. Yes, we are in the wrong theater hall. The seat number is right. The seat row is right, but we are in the wrong cinema. That day taught me a lesson that I have never forgotten. Before I start fighting, before I start persisting, before I start insisting, I double check if I'm right. If I had just double checked my ticket, I would have noticed that I am in the wrong theater hall. The blind area is your feedback. It may just be you checking your facts, you checking your surroundings, you checking that you heard properly, or it could be you asking another person, "In your view, what do you think I must do?" So most of us, when it comes to the workplace, we are too quick to jump into conclusions without first taking a step back and say, "But what if I'm wrong? But what if I'm in the wrong cinema? But what if the way I thought about it is wrong?" Just taking that moment to hear the next person out will help you to deal with these blind spots that we find in quadrant 2. So quadrant 1, you are cruising, you are in your open arena. Quadrant 2 is not so easy. You constantly have to pause, get feedback, apply the feedback until you are able to reduce the blind spots in your life. So you'll see, the older you are, the easier it will be for you to figure out the blind spots. And not just even the older you are, the more you practice soliciting and not just soliciting the feedback, but implementing as much of the feedback as possible, the more you grow. Then the third quadrant is called the hidden area. These are things you know about yourself, but others don't know about you. You know, sometimes when I observe people and how they are afraid of talking about their gifts, how they are afraid of talking about their achievements, how they are afraid of talking about, you know, the projects they've completed, their role in those projects. And when it comes to us Africans, most of the time, I blame our upbringing, because our upbringing says, don't make noise about how good you are. Don't make noise about what you delivered the last time. You are proud. Why are you rubbing it in other people's faces? So you grow up your entire life being taught to keep quiet about your achievements. Then you arrive at an interview and they say, give us an example of the last time you delivered this. And because you have not practiced how to deliver your good points, you come across as weak. So you delivered this project, you were at the center of this project, or you are the one that kept this department going, but you say, yeah, no, it was all of us. We were all contributing. Yeah, the thing is, I don't want it to sound like I'm the only one who contributed. No. You are the one that is in the interview. The other people are not in the interview. You know, so you, and this is again, you know, musicians are my favorite examples. Musicians rehearse before they deliver. Even for you, rehearse how you are going to describe your role in something. How you know, if you are pitching for a business and you are describing how the last time you did this event for this person, you delivered this, there were many obstacles, you overcame them, this is how you overcame them, you are a problem solver, you are an analytical thinker, you have examples. Don't think about these things in the interview. Don't think about these things in the pitching session. Yes. Exactly. And when you look like you are remembering, to some people you could look like you are lying. Because for you to remember, you need a moment to say, let me just think, what happened exactly? So write them down, say them over and over again. I mean, for me as a preacher, to be honest with you, Mpo, I get a lot of opportunities to share my testimonies in different things. So in a way, I get afforded, and I think for you, it's also the same thing, that because you're on radio, you're always speaking to people, you get an opportunity over and over to keep sharing sometimes the same story. And the more you tell the same story, that's what people don't understand. The more you tell the same story, the better the delivery of that story gets. So again, if we go back to musicians, have you ever gone to a concert of your favorite musician, and she sings a song you like, but sings a rendition you don't know? It's the same lyrics, but actually you came to the concert to sing along because you liked that polished version of the song. Yes. Oh, I thought you were saying something, Mpo. That's why I went quiet. Yes. Yes. So I was saying, then you go to this concert, you want to sing along to your favorite musician. You know, when we started learning Lebo's Khobela song, and that part, that Shona part that we didn't know what they said, when we crammed it. So when it came to that part, all of us were singing, and we were like, how you do me? Then you go to a concert and she sings another rendition. You enjoy it, but that's not what you wanted. You wanted that practiced delivery. So when it comes to this hidden area, you need to teach yourself the story that you will keep on telling people so that they can discover who you are. So that, and in relationships, again, is the same thing. Teach yourself how to express your feelings. You know, some of us, the only time that you express your feelings is when you are hurt. Yeah, the thing is, when every time you are hurting me. So every time when you're expressing your feelings, you're expressing them like a child. That's why your partner doesn't take you seriously, because every time when you try to teach your partner how to treat you, you come across like a child. So teach yourself how to assertively, in a loving manner, say to your partner, this is how I want to be treated. But if every time when you're explaining to him how you want to be treated, you are crying, instead of focusing on what you are saying, he's trying to comfort you. Sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. It's going to be better. He's not hearing you. Why? Because he's trying to comfort you. So this hidden area, it's not just about the workplace. It's something that we need to teach ourselves. Some of us, your parents, you are like me, you are 43, but your dad still treats you like a child. So in a respectful manner, you need to say, Papa, I also have other responsibilities. I may not always be able to answer your call when you call me, but as soon as I'm able to, I will call you back. You don't have to say, Papa, this is not fair. You're always treating me like a child. That's why he will continue to treat you like a child. So when it comes to the hidden area, remember, in the blind area, you are asking for feedback. In the hidden area, you are giving people feedback about who you are. You are exposing your talents. You are exposing your gifts. You are exposing your area of strength. The last quadrant, then, is the unknown area. You know, I love the unknown area because this is the area of our greatest opportunity. These are things about you that you don't know and that others don't know. These are the areas of discovery. And when you are a child, people, they make room for discovery in your life. When you are a child, people allow you to discover who you are. But when you are older, people start to be impatient when you are trying to discover who you are. And sometimes it's not even just people who are impatient. You are also impatient about who you are. So when it comes to this area in quadrant 4, the unknown area, the first thing that I just want to encourage every single one of us, be patient with yourself. As you discover something about yourself, don't say, yo, I wish I had discovered this about myself 5 years ago. This is so unfair that I'm discovering it so late in my life. Just pause, be patient with yourself, and give yourself time to learn until, as we go back to the 4 stages of competence, until you become unconsciously competent in that area. And if you work with other people, it may be your siblings, it may be your husband or wife, it may be your children, it may be your co-workers. Always give people an opportunity to grow when they are in your midst. Don't be the type of person who always want people when they are ready. You want a ready-made. People must be ready-made when you don't have. You keep saying, no, I don't have time for nonsense. No, what you mean is not that you don't have time for nonsense. What you mean is that you actually not generous and patient enough to allow people to discover themselves in your presence. And here I'll give one final example to wrap this up. I don't know, these days it's just that worship teams are very sophisticated, but back in our day, the keyboard player would always be learning in the service. And sometimes you start a chorus, as we called them during those times, or a worship song in the fancier way. You start a worship song and then you are singing it. And the keyboard player is trying to figure out the key until you finish the song. But 6 months down the line, that same guy who 6 months ago would only get the key at the end of the song can get this thing from the beginning. But if you did not allow him to discover himself in the service, then you will never enjoy the music he's delivering 6 months later. Can we be like the old congregations and allow people to discover themselves in our midst? So for me as a preacher, you don't want to hear the messages I was preaching when I was 13. They were full of theological errors, revelation errors, grammar errors, English errors, but there were people who allowed me to discover myself in their presence. Those are the 4 quadrants, the open area, where you are most productive, you know, and those around you know. Quadrant number 2, you don't know it, the blind area, you don't know, but people know. Quadrant 3, the hidden area. People don't know this about you, but you know it about yourself. Quadrant 4, our greatest opportunity. The areas you don't know about yourself and others don't know about you. So this will help you understand yourself as you work in a team, as you lead teams, as you are led in teams, as you work in partnerships. It may be in relationships with the children that you are raising, your siblings, your parents, and most of all, your co-workers, your business partners, your suppliers, and your customers. That's my story, Mpo. It ends there. So I am on all social media platforms as a Manchapeha. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And my email address is manchapeha@gmail.com. And then on the phone, I'm on 082 755 8219.